By the time we got to the third film, we had a pretty well-honed team. Most everyone had worked on the two previous films, and we were pretty...
Said going into this film, I don't want to go near Venice in the tourist season. Guess what? We shot there in August. We got control of the Grand Canal from like 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on one day. But there was the TV aerials on the top of the hotels on the other side of the Grand Canal. There was nothing I could do. You know, this is the problem when it's shooting period. I couldn't do anything. Dougie said, it's all right, you won't see them. I thought, God, thank God for that. But we did it, and we managed.
Marcus Brody?
That's right.
Dr. Elsa Schneider.
How do you do?
I was living in London, and I simply went for the audition, thinking there was no possibility of me getting it because I was 21 and Irish, and they were looking for a 29-year-old Austrian. Before that, I'd done some TV. I'd done work with Jonathan Pryce. I'd done a Bond film, A View to a Kill, playing Jenny Flex. I think I was one of the first girls that they saw. I auditioned and met with Steven Spielberg and everybody, and then they asked me to come back to do a screen test. I remember thinking, oh God, you know, will it be me? And I was lucky. I was really lucky.
Action.
Don't look at me like that. We both wanted to go out.
Basically, I had to acquire an Austrian accent, so I did a lot of work for that. And before I knew it, I was on the set, shooting the first day, and it was actually one of the last scenes. So I arrived on set with Harrison Ford, and Sean Connery, and Denham Elliott, and Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas, and little Alison Doody, and with an Austrian accent filming one of the last scenes. So I was really thrown in the deep end.
Action.
Oh, rats.
The rats was the follow-up to the bugs, which was the follow-up to the snakes. I think we're running out of things to do here, you know?
My job was, how do I find 10,000 rats? We had a rat breeder, we had a couple of rat breeders, and we started breeding rats.
Because in order to have rats that aren't infected with some virus or disease, you have to basically cultivate them from living births. So our animal handlers gave birth to something like 2,000 living rats. And they were everywhere. Now the set, you know, the set was half water, it was like an aqueduct. And we had rats, you know, walking the very narrow lips of the aqueduct and coming out of holes. Rats in poor Alison Doody's hair. I put bugs in Kate Capshaw's hair, put snakes around Karen Allen's neck, and now we were putting rats in Alison's hair. I mean, do we have any shame? No, we don't.
Unfortunately, the female characters in Indy had to go through the most abuse of the kind of creepy, crawly, disgusting scares.
That was a big bone of contention as well at the audition. They were asking whether I would have a problem with that scene, and I said absolutely not. They're not your average sewer rat. You know, they were clean rats, and there was no problem with the rats.
Well, happily, rats are another thing that don't bother me very much. When I was a young teenager, I was a nature counselor, and coincidentally did have as pets black-hooded rats. First two, and then pretty soon many, many, many more as they multiplied. And so I was quite used to handling rats.
Actually, I mean, they have personalities, rats do, compared to snakes and insects. Man bites rat. Freak accident.
Well, I'm not going to set a live rat on fire. I might have no shame, but I do draw the line somewhere. We had a lot of mechanical rats that were created just to set on fire. So all those were mechanical rats that were immolated toward the end of that scene.
An awful lot of the movie for me was very physical. I mean, the running scenes, I mean, the whole piece in Venice. I cannot tell you how scared I was. I'm running in high heels. My shoes are giving way at this stage. They're very wet. And I'm jumping from wet shoes onto a wet boat. And it was tricky. I was driving this boat, and I had never driven one of these boats before, and the whole thing was just move into the scene, get out of the scene, let them do the fight. And I kept banging into the walls. And they were going, it's fine, but just come back into the scene now and go out of the scene. And it was just chaotic. Chaotic, but they knew exactly what they were doing. It was just mad for me. And it was a very physical scene as well, with Harrison fighting on the boat and everything.
I hate shooting in the water, even in tanks. Well, we were on the back lot of Elstree in the little pond there. I guess they call it the Studio Lake. Not quite a lake, it's much smaller than that. Elliot Scott and George Gibb had built this tremendous propeller on the back of part of a ship. And the thing moved around, and it was made of metal, so it was not safe to be anywhere near it, and we weren't. And we did use stunt doubles for certain scenes.
That part where the propeller was in that tank was about 15 feet deep, but the rest of the tank was only about 4 feet deep. So we had the boat that was rigged onto a long track, and then we had a big winch that pulled the boat along slowly into the propeller. And as the propeller chopped up the boat, we had explosives in the back of the boat just to enhance it and make it look a bit more interesting.
We made the back of the Chris Craft inboard motorboats a little bit longer so the prop could have a lot of boat to eat up and not put the actors in harm's way. And by shooting with a very long lens, I think I shot with a 250 millimeter focal length lens, it made you think that the actors were closer to the props than they actually were.